Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our office, the Ficus Gallery. My name is Ignacio Zarrabitia, and I will be moderating this roundtable. But first of all, please let me explain or introduce you why we're here. 2024 is a celebration year at our office. We are celebrating the 30th anniversary of Group IPS and the 20th anniversary of Arquid Architectural Office. And within this context, the innovation team and the academic team of Arquid sat together and thought it was a great excuse or a great context to launch what we have called Arquid Talks. Arquid Talks is a series of roundtables, discussions, events, however you want to call it, workshops or so on, where we will be inviting not only architects but also people, leading people in other disciplines in order to discuss, to learn and talk about all these issues or topics that we're facing in our daily life. As I said, this first event was pushed somehow by the innovation team, and there is no innovation without artificial intelligence nowadays. And there is no one better to talk about this than the four guests that we have managed to put here tonight. We will have, starting from my left, Martin Schulte, which is the leader of the computation team at Herzog and the Meuron Architectural Office. We have also Ana Lozano, CEO of Nidus Lab. And we have Ana Marcos and Alfonso Villanueva, founders of 3D Interactivo. Both, all of them, as I said, an heterogeneous group that will make a short presentation of around 15 minutes each, explaining how they work with artificial intelligence in their daily life. Hopefully we see which tools they use, when they use it, how, and some nice examples. We have some artists, we have architects, we have software developers tonight or to this afternoon, and hopefully lots of new ideas will come afterwards. After the presentations, we'll have a roundtable for around 30 minutes, where we invite all of you, not only the ones present here, but also the ones online, to make some questions and to participate in. And after this roundtable, we'll have some beers, in this case only for the ones here, not for the ones online, to enjoy a little bit of networking. So after this short presentation, let me please introduce Ana Lozano, will be the first talking. Ana Lozano is a highly accomplished architect and urban planner, combines academic excellence with extensive experience. She actively contributes to Women in Real Estate and Women Angels for STEAM associations, and holds positions at the CoWord and COE R&D Commission, while leading the Generative Architecture Research team at the Cluster of the Edification. Ana is a prolific author, accomplished curator, and founder of her own architecture practice in 2001. Since 2014, she has managed a strategic real estate consultancy firm and ventured into AI-based PropTech with Nidus Lab, pioneering automatic designing research. Ana, please.
Thank you, Matthew. Shall I stand up or shall I stay? I mean, I'm not used to stay put, so I'll do my best not to move around. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody here, Arquid and Group IPS Group, for having us all. And thank you all, the attendees, for choosing us over any other pleasant occupation you could be using your afternoon for. So I was asked to explain how Nidus was born, and how it was born within our process and where the shoes were hurting us in the process of designing architecture. So, ¿te hago un gesto para pasar? Yeah, next. Not everything is. Sorry for that. I hope it's not going to happen again, because the slide is not complete. But anyways, don't worry for that. There should be more information on the slide, so I'll do my best to explain what's happening here. So this slide only wants to represent what we call the investment, the real estate investment puzzle. So what's the situation now? The situation now, if we can resume it, this could be some of the situations explained in there. We will have three kind of players. So the manufacturers of industrial components, we know that one of the biggest challenges for us nowadays is going to be how to allow, that's better, thank you very much, how to allow a major penetration of the industrialization and prefabrication in our real estate production. So this could be a typical client manufacturer that has invested a lot of money in a robotics line to manufacture in a very perfect way, like all the typical car system of fabrication, and this takes a lot of time. It involves a lot of workforce. It involves a lot of human error, more roughly between 50 and 70% of human error due to repetitive tasks mostly. And they have to assume it's a long process. It can take roughly 8 weeks with a bunch of 8 engineers. And they have assumed also a waste of material of roughly 30%, which represents a lot, especially when we are trying to get this carbon zero target all around our architecture. Another typical one would be an architectural practice that is asked from a client to test the feasibility of a particular plot. Is asked to produce a very high quality work in a very short period of time, you know that. My colleagues especially will know what happens. And you put a lot of money there. It is considered mostly a sunk cost, because I don't know if other countries, maybe you guys are luckier than we are, but normally the feasibility side of the project is never paid off. So it's what we consider a sunk cost. And we are led again to a high number of human error, redundancy, and most of the time the first work that has been delivered in that stage doesn't serve for the rest of the project. And then the third one, which is mostly related to the previous one, could be the developer or the investor that is going to be competing or betting on a plot, needs to know exactly what's the maximum price they should be paying for that, and needs all the work from an architect to make sure that the ends meet and the financials are there, and it is worth buying the plot. Again. So I will start with this sentence. I'm pretty aware that all of you have heard it before. So the best way to predict the future is to create it. The thing I love the more about this sentence is that it's attributed to two different people in two different periods of the history that has had nothing to do one another. So one would be Abraham Lincoln, and the other one is the very famous economist Peter Drucker. Next. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but just a reminder of what artificial intelligence is. So you may, I think now it's living around us. So most of us know more or less what artificial intelligence is. But just to remind you guys that artificial intelligence is a big umbrella. And under this umbrella, there are different specifications when we go deeper in the detail and in the capacity of these algorithms to emulate human intelligence. Next. And this is not something new to us. Eventually, the linear regressions, it's a mathematic system, is more than 400 years old. So it's nothing new. But we can identify the last 70 years of the most important milestones achieved in artificial intelligence. So you all remember some of them. Deep Blue defeating Kasparov, the creation of the iRobot Roomba that is helping us in most of our homes, the big change maker that was Google Brain for this search motor, and most recently, especially on the field we are trying to talk about today, on how generative AI is starting to help in building design, especially for some architectural practices like Zaha Hadid that really wanted to work with complex geometries, and the normal evolution and the normal software wasn't enough to be able to create these productions. So the bad news is, as per today, AI is already outperforming human in a lot of fields. So no more, I mean, there was a time in which AI was not doing that well, but I encourage everybody to go to this website I'm presenting here if you want to study the slide in more detail. It is the study of how some of the human typical capacities have been evolving in the last years, and in particular, some of them, that the capacity of AI has grown to 100, or even more than that, in only a couple of years. So this is the bad news, but then I am a very, very, very optimistic person, so I'm not going to say on the bad news. And this is the reason why I bring this particular sentence, that for me, and according to Lars Hesselgren, generative design is not about designing the building. It's about designing the system that builds a building. And I like this sentence very much because it puts the human back on the center of the picture. So we are not aiming to have systems we don't understand that feels like magic or feels like heretics. That is going to do the job for us. Our goal should be being able to produce these kind of tools, so we are able to produce other kind of architectures. Next, please. So if we compare what traditional thinking was, and now I'm back to our area of specification in planning and design. So we had these conditions that were some of them endogenous and some of them exogenous. There was a whole process involved of thinking, searching, producing, and evaluating different options, and we needed to go back and iterate. I have to remember you guys that in the best options, architects and engineers are able to iterate once a week. We are going to come back on that, and you will know what I'm putting the effort on that. And if we compare to the evolved AI-driven thinking, assisted by generative AI, the process has a completely different approach, because the iteration is automatic, and our human task would be to be able to check and evaluate and re-evaluate the different options. So please, next. So before telling you what we do and what we use, we'll start to tell you what we don't do and what we haven't find the way to use. So some examples. This would be an example. So you see it has been hand drawing. So I'm talking AI, and then I bring you some drawings. Those are mine. But in particular, this was a very interesting project. We had the opportunity to build 400 private houses. But the very important thing about them is that they should be able to be semi-industrialized, based on a system that could be repeated and being able, from the same shape and the same structure and exactly the same position of the core parts of the building, to be able to produce from 1 bedroom to 4 bedroom, from 1 floor to 4 floors. So we started to work on a system that was related to the steel frame structure, and for sure at 1,000 euros per square meter, which is today seems like a miracle. And it was something that needed to be used very quickly, and we say, okay, let's use Midjourney, and this is what Midjourney told us. And when I saw them, I say, okay, they look cool. But how on earth I'm going to present that to my client and insist and convince him that we are going to afford houses built in 1,000 euros per square meter with this? So no way. So okay, next, please. And then we tried with another one. We tried with Veras, and we had more or less the same problem. Say, okay, maybe it is something that could enhance our design, that could help us to produce something that looks pretty, but at the end of the day, there's no way I can go on with that, because it doesn't really follow what we want to present the client with. So we ended up with Lumion, with our old, nice, absolutely reliable Lumion, and we were able to present the client with a whole system and a kind of nice idea. Next, please. The second project would be of 158 studios in a co-living asset. So again, this hand-drawn sketches that start the project, and we produce exactly the same process. So we ask Veras and say, oh my God, I am never going to, I mean, actually it's the first time I show anybody these images, because I wasn't even, confident with showing anybody that, because it's really poor quality. So we went to Midjourney and say, okay, again, pretty cool, but is this a living project? Is it an office? Is it London? Is it Paris? So again, totally useless. And then we said, okay, so we need, maybe if we don't find what we need to create it. This was a project in Villaviciosa de Odón that was built at 950 euros per square meter, a student house. Can we go on, please? So on the left, on my left, on your right, on your left as well. So on the left, the model. So very, very particular site covered with existing trees, monumental trees, and very, very tricky urban regulation. And the first image you can see on the left was presented to the client, say, this is more or less where we want to go. And they say, okay, it's awesome, let's go ahead. And then you need to produce a blueprint that goes to the bank, that goes to a risk committee in 72 hours with this very tricky geometry. So, okay, that's it. So what you see moving, it's now we've learned that it's called artificial intelligence. When we were doing that in 2020, we didn't even know that this has a name. So it was a tool that we built on ourselves to try to help us. Okay, so we want to build this very beautiful building. It's a really complex geometry. It's very sensible. If we need to try different marketing mix, different kind of room sizes, different options. So we built an entire system that helped us to get very, very quickly to the solution, and we ended up being able to present the client with a perfectly fitted on a very difficult geometry for these 406 units in Villaviciosa de Odón. And then we ended up building it. So, okay, as per today, we can say it was not just an example, it was not just a test, it was something that we achieved, and we were able to end up building it. And then we tried again in Salamanca with a nearly, next please, with a nearly one, you can start the video, otherwise, okay. With a project that is nearly 1,000 rooms, a huge project. And again, we were able to deliver not only one, but 3 different blueprints in less than 3 days. As per today, I can tell you guys that we have already completed, you can see on the picture, so this was a 17-month construction of a total of 27,000 square meters. So how we could achieve that? Again, we were cheating. We were using these very enhanced tools that helped us to produce different situations, different options, to combine all the requests from the client, to compare different projects, to compare even different blueprints, different ways of using the plot. And then we ended up with this kind of tool that at the very last, after we were happy with the boxes, we just needed to operate and had this automatic display of drawings. Next. So you remember that I told you before that we humans are able, in the worst average, to produce 1 iteration per week in architectural design. This little guy here is able to make 100,000 a second. So this is what we ended up working on. Again, please, the video. So this is what we ended up working on something that is going to be useful for everybody. So this is multifamily this time. The input starts with something that the architect still needs to produce, because the architect is the only one that can produce the magic in a site. So they know exactly where they want to locate the buildings, what shape they should be having, where's the south, where are the nice views, where do you want to put everything. So this magic happens only from the hand of an architect. But then you have this little guy that by just introducing the parameters, urban parameters, the commercial parameters, on a back and forth test. Each time this little clock is moving around, is producing 300,000, 400,000, a million different options. And is going to present the user with the 20 best. So you can really, really, really easily check how you should be kind of using this plot and how architecture could be producing the magic. So you just change bueno. Sorry, no, we didn't see the last part of the video, but I don't want to come. So the last part of the video is where the final magic happens, is you don't have only the boxes, but you end up having, es que no sé si vas a poder poner la barra de estado, ¿no, verdad? You end up having a plan, a layout, perfectly finalized, that as an architect you can just come back, edit, modify, and perfection, and make it happen on a real project. But all this effort that happened in the first part is, as you see, completely seamless. Ahora sí pasa. Se ha quedado tostado. Mira, sí. Okay, so once you, and here is where you have this beautiful set of plans that instead of taking you weeks and months, you have it done in a couple of minutes. You don't need to drop any particular creativity while producing the architecture. No podemos seguir. Okay, so you have some more. So I bring some of them to you. So you guys are totally free to try them and see how you can adapt them to your own workflow, because the important part here is that you need to feel comfortable as those things being a tool. It's not those tools driving you, but it's you driving and piloting those tools that is going to allow you ultimately to keep what you can bring on the table, the added value that architects and designers are going to bring on the table, but they just don't need to spend time in tedious, repetitive tasks that are not going to add any value on the top of that. And then I will finish with this very beautiful quote from Arthur Clarke. Technology, like art, is a soaring exercise of the human imagination. And I will add on my own that science and technology revolutionize our lives, but it's memory, tradition, and myth that frame our response. And again, Arthur Clarke said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Thank you very much. I don't know how it was.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much, Anna. Very impressive. We will come later back to some of the topics you've been talking, because I assume most of them will be also raised by the other guest. We will follow with Ana Marcos and Alfonso Villanueva, both of them founders of 3D Interactivo Studio. 3D Interactivo Studio explores the nexus of art, science, and technology, fostering innovation in artistic expression. Their global presence includes exhibitions in prestigious museums, highlighting their commitment to pushing the boundaries of creativity. Please, the board is yours.
Okay. I'm sorry, Martin. I'm going to start just 5 minutes in Spanish.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
You cheat.
Okay, so, bueno, solamente voy a decir 3 o 4 ideas sobre quiénes somos, qué es lo que hacemos, a qué nos dedicamos. Si quieres, pasa ya a la siguiente transparencia. Nosotros somos un colectivo muy pequeñito, lo formamos actualmente 3 personas, pero los cofundadores somos Alfonso y yo. Somos ingenieros y después de una carrera profesional en el mundo de las telecomunicaciones decidimos pasar al mundo de las artes, y este cambio vital que hicimos, pues lógicamente vocacional, nos ha permitido ser un poco especiales en este mundo del arte, porque efectivamente es difícil combinar perfiles técnicos ingenieriles con perfiles de bellas artes, ¿no? Alfonso es ingeniero, yo soy ingeniero también y además he estudiado bellas artes posteriormente, y luego la tercera persona, que es Jesús Pérez, que no está aquí, es ingeniero también y además es psicólogo. Entonces, nuestra idea, que comenzamos a trabajar como artistas en el 2010, ya casi vamos a hacer los 15 añitos, era poner la tecnología y los nuevos avances tecnológicos. O sea, vivimos en una era o vivimos en un periodo en el que ya todas estas tecnologías, digamos, están en el centro de muchísimos sectores, y sin embargo en el mundo del arte pues parece que seguimos teniendo una idea preconcebida de que cuando vas a ir a una exposición pues vas a visitar una exposición de objetos patrimoniales o de objetos artísticos, y que bueno, pues ese es un poco el canon, ¿no? Entonces nosotros decidimos cambiar un poco el planteamiento. Ya no me acuerdo cómo va esto. Bueno, aquí he puesto un poco con todo, un poco el resumen casi de todos los museos con los que hemos trabajado. Generalmente trabajamos con museos, algunos de muchísima importancia, como el Museo Nacional de Taiwán o Fundación de Telefónica aquí. Bueno, aquí podéis ver un poco. Y luego otra peculiaridad que también tenemos es que gracias también a este background, digamos, de business o de negocio que teníamos previamente, pues hemos podido financiarnos a través de ayudas de concurrencia pública a las que hemos optado tanto en el Ministerio de Cultura como en la Comunidad de Madrid, en la Junta de Castilla y León, etcétera. Entonces, de esto es de lo que nosotros vivimos. ¿Y qué es lo que hacemos exactamente? Pues os haría casi como una pregunta, empezaría por una pregunta indirecta, ¿no? Nosotros cuando visitamos exposiciones en cualquier, voy a decir museo siempre, pero ya sabéis que un museo puede ser una institución, una fundación pública, privada, etcétera, pero para ser más concreta hablaré de museos. Pues nos preguntamos cosas, ¿no? Como bien sabéis. Entonces, siempre que vamos a una exposición nos preguntamos, bueno, ¿y a alguien le gustaría, pues por ejemplo, en nuestros casos, ¿a alguien le gustaría ver una exposición donde se está recuperando patrimonio desaparecido, una colección de pinturas que desapareció en el siglo XIX, y así arrancar todo un estudio detrás para poder descubrir esta historia, mostrársela a la gente y además utilizando inteligencia artificial para reproducir, para ver cómo es capaz la tecnología de ajustarse a parámetros, digamos, tecnodetectivescos, ¿vale? Otra pregunta que os haría, ¿os gustaría ir a una exposición donde realmente en un entorno seguro, que es el mundo expositivo, ¿no? del mundo cultural, donde os muestren qué riesgos estáis corriendo cuando una inteligencia artificial está grabando y está captando datos sin previo consentimiento, lógicamente? De hecho, nosotros ahora mismo tenemos una instalación que se considera por la Unión Europea de alto riesgo, ¿no? Es un poco la definición que se ha hecho. Llevamos exponiéndola desde hace 6 años, o sea, la primera exposición la hicimos en Fundación Telefónica y la acabamos de cerrar en el Museo La Nomodejar. Pero todas estas preguntas que nosotros nos hacemos, o el último proyecto que estamos haciendo con inteligencia artificial relacionada con el mundo ecológico y en concreto con los bosques y los árboles. ¿Os gustaría visitar una exposición donde lo que os proponemos es un diálogo, poder dialogar con el mundo forestal? Pues nosotros pensamos que sí, que hay mucha gente que quiere ver este tipo de exposiciones y que no solo las exposiciones artísticas tienen que estar formadas por objetos, digamos, artísticos, pintura, escultura, patrimonio en general, ¿no? Patrimonio artístico. Y entonces lo que estamos intentando hacer, si quieres pasa porque ya no me acuerdo, es intentar trabajar sobre las experiencias del espectador. Creemos que puede tener sentido esta idea, ya sabemos que es una frase muy manipulada, una palabra muy manipulada, sobre todo porque en el mundo del marketing y en este país en el que vivimos, que el sector turístico lo arrolla todo, la palabra experiencia parece que está un poco manoseada, pero para nosotros lo que queremos matizar con decir que lo que ofrecemos son experiencias al público en general es todo un proceso de aprendizaje y de conocimiento que además lo hacemos a través de los lenguajes del arte, porque cuando tú vas a una exposición parece que una exposición es algo lúdico, donde te entra una cierta pereza, tienes que ser como un espectador un poco pasivo. Y no, nosotros queremos que los espectadores sean activos y, de hecho, nuestra forma de verlo es tal que muchas veces algunas de las piezas ni siquiera existen si no hay un espectador. O sea, la palabra espectador también no encaja muy bien con este tipo de experiencias. Bueno, ahora Alfonso os va a enseñar con un vídeo lo que yo os estoy contando un poco desde el planteamiento teórico, por eso no os estoy contando qué veis en ninguna de las imágenes. Por supuesto, son imágenes de todas nuestras instalaciones, pero pasamos, si quieres. Como veis, pues pensamos que la magia de nuestro trabajo es la participación del público de una forma activa, de una forma, digamos, diferente. Y para eso hemos encontrado un aliado fenomenal que es la inteligencia artificial. Y la encontramos pues porque sí, porque la primera vez que utilizamos inteligencia artificial en 2010 fue haciendo un proyecto para el espacio centro-centro, lo conocéis ahí en Cibeles, y entonces queríamos que la interrelación entre la pieza artística y el espectador no fuera un ratón y un teclado, sino que con la mano, con la sutileza de la mano, pudiera hacer una serie de transformaciones. Y ese proyecto, que utilizaba inteligencia artificial para predecir el movimiento de una mano, resulta que bueno, pues fue un poco la manera en la que descubrimos que podíamos hacer algo diferente, porque, claro, la gente se quedaba un poco en shock, ¿no? Decía, pero ¿dónde está el ratón? Pero esto, ya se ha producido, no sé. Nos dio ahí, digamos, fue una pista y desde entonces hemos utilizado diferentes tipos de algoritmos. Bueno, de hecho, en aquella época la inteligencia artificial era para frikis y entonces yo te hubiera dicho que utilizábamos inteligencia artificial y no hubieras entendido nada. La mayoría del público hubiera dicho, pues no sé qué me está diciendo esta chica, ¿no? Como un concepto, digamos, técnico que no era conocido por el gran público. Y entonces, bueno, pues desde entonces hemos utilizado inteligencia artificial para la mayoría de las cosas que hemos hecho, pero realmente nuestro trabajo es artístico. Utilizamos la conceptualización del mundo artístico, es decir, trabajamos sobre el retrato, trabajamos sobre retrato colectivo, trabajamos sobre construcción de paisaje, trabajamos sobre... pero siempre dándole ese toque, digamos, distinto, porque la forma, digamos, que tiene el espectador de entender la obra de arte le está implicando una participación más activa quizás que el hecho de pasearte por una sala, ¿no? Y bueno, ese es un poco el objetivo. Nuestros proyectos se dirigen a museos, como decíamos antes. No sé qué tengo por ahí. Ah, sí, tengo una foto de un museo que además, como veis, es virtual, o sea, es un museo generado en 3D que hicimos para uno de los proyectos que veréis ahora. Y todos los cuadros que están dentro de ese museo están generados con inteligencia artificial. Y entonces queremos un poco llevar al museo a un museo, digamos, de siglo XXI o siglo XXII, no sé, porque vamos un poquito despacio en todo esto, yo por lo menos así lo percibo, donde realmente se encajen más cosas dentro de un museo. O sea, un museo es un contenedor de patrimonio, hay muchas cosas detrás de un museo, pero quizás se ha perdido esa parte de conocimiento, ¿no? de mostrar el conocimiento, de mostrar los avances. Tampoco creo que tenga sentido hablar de esto dentro de un museo. Mucha gente me dice, bueno, ya, pero es que existen los museos de la ciencia o los museos más relacionados con la tecnología, ¿no? No, porque normalmente esos museos no hablan con el lenguaje del arte. Y yo creo que lo que nosotros queremos es, o lo que nosotros aspiramos, lógicamente, es llevar los lenguajes del arte con la tecnología. Y yo creo que te damos paso ya a ti. Bueno, tenía ahí como tengo un vídeo y tal, pero bueno, venga, pasamos. No, este no es. Este es un vídeo que quería mostraros. Una de las cosas que solemos hacer también es mostrarle... Bueno, perdón.
Okay, I will switch to English. I just want to show you a few examples of how we have used artificial intelligence in our latest artistic projects. This project is called Meuron AI. What you see here is images that have been created by an artificial intelligence. So we used generative artificial intelligence, and we have been using this. This project has been running for the last 4 years. So it shows also how the technology, the generative AI technology, has evolved in these last 4 years. And in this case, the objective was to reimagine a collection of 57 paintings that were intended to be the founding collection of the Museum of Palencia, but that disappeared during the 19th century, and today are totally lost. So what we did was to use artificial intelligence to reimagine how these paintings, with the very little information that we had, might have looked like. And this is the result. We used different algorithms. We started with style transfer. We changed to GANs, generative adversarial networks. With GANs, we had to own data sets. Then we had to train the algorithms. Later on, we incorporated CLIP in order to be able to describe what we wanted the AI to produce. And finally, we end up using the latest technologies, such as DALL-E and Midjourney. With that, we produced different versions with different algorithms of these lost paintings, and we made exhibition with them. Here, what you see is the latest exhibition we have done with this project, which has been in Palm Beach in the US last January. And you see all the proposals that AI made for the missing paintings. Okay? This is another project called Paisajes Observables, Observable Landscapes. In this case, we didn't use the AI to create images, but we used AI to transform images and to change the composition. We had a corpus of videos showing landscapes, and the AI was just changed the images, it changed the videos, it changed the compositions, and created an existing landscapes. This was shown in Madrid in the last Luz Madrid Festival in October. And we use also artificial intelligence to be able to integrate into the exhibition. This was a big project. The images in real time of the visitors of the exhibition. We had the inhabitants of the landscape, the original landscapes, but we had also in real time visiting people appearing suddenly inside the landscapes. And we use the AI to extract the people from the background. This is another exhibition we did. It was called Dronia, where we combine drones that were scanning the visitors and artificial intelligence to produce a collective portrait of the visitors, where this is the portrait, where the AI was doing two things. Was creating the composition with fragments of images of the people that were taken by the drones, but it was also telling us, or telling the visitors, what the AI saw from those images of the visitors and also from the portraits in the history of art. The one you see there is called Data Ergo Sum Reloaded. That was exhibited in Costa Rica, in the Museum of Contemporary Art of Costa Rica, and in the LA Art Show in LA, in the US. In this case, we used the artificial intelligence in a totally different way. We had cameras recording the visitors, with the images, we created a collective portrait, but the AI was analyzing the facial expressions, the body movements of the people, and presenting all this information, and even detecting the emotions that people were expressing as they were participating in the exhibition. And with that, we created a mosaic of data that was put together with the portrait of the people, so the people could see what the AI was just, let's say, analyzing by their simple presence. They were doing nothing but staying in front of the cameras. And the AI was capable of learning a lot just because of these images. And we wanted to show the people what AI was capable of doing at the time. We are talking that the first exhibition was in 2018. At that time, emotion recognition was not known by the people. So we showed that. That's another exhibition that we made in Korea in the year 2016, and that has been done again in the Museo La Neomudéjar last January. And in that case, we used AI also in a different way. We were using it also to distinguish people from background and extracting the person of interest to put in the exhibition, to record this person. We use AI to synthesize the voice that was used during the presentation to the people, to the public. And finally, we use all the recordings made with the people, and because we asked the people visiting the exhibition to nod and shake their heads, and the AI was analyzing these movements because we wanted later on to compare how different people and people from different cultures, because we did that first in Korea and then we did that in Madrid, how they reacted when you asked them to do this very basic gesture, which is shaking and nodding. And with that, we created a portrait, a collective portrait, in this case in the exhibition at La Neomudéjar in Madrid, where we put visiting people in relation with the people who had visited the exhibition in Korea a few years before. And we created this mosaic where you could see yourself nodding and shaking, and see also the people from Korea nodding and shaking and compare. And this was, let's say, an aesthetic experience where AI was behind the scene. In this case, we didn't mention to the public that AI was behind. In other cases, yes. But I think this is a good, let's say, compendium of how AI can be used in many different ways in the art world. Not only creating images, but also analyzing data and using it to influence us as creators to present the things in different ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. Again, very impressive. A first commercial question before we jump to Martin. Is there any place we can see your work in Madrid right now? Or right now we need to wait, no? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
In March, up to last March, we had several of our installations here in Madrid, but now, no.
Please let us know next time. Okay, so from artificial intelligence applied to shorten the timing of the works, to artificial intelligence changing the process, changing the results or the experience of art. I give the word to the last guest of us. This is Martin Schulte, who an architect, I believe, even if it's not. But joined Herzog and the Meuron in 2016 as an intern and returned in 2018 to begin his collaboration as an architect and computational designer. He became part of the Design Technologies department in 2019 and is leading the computation team since 2022. His works include the support of a variety of projects requiring computational design expertise, such as football stadiums, museums, and hospitals. Apart from his involvement in architectural projects, he has a strong focus in applied research in the field of new technologies. As part of his endeavor, he collaborates closely with academia and the software industry. Currently, he's responsible for the adoption of artificial intelligence and extended reality into the daily practice. Martin, please.
Thank you. Maybe can you go to the next slide? Yes, so also I would quickly introduce my employer. I think the introduction from you was quite extensive. Thank you. So I work for Herzog and Meuron, which is like a large architectural firm based in Switzerland. But not only in Switzerland, we have offices around the world. And yeah, the office was founded in, I think, 1978 by Jacques Herzog and Pierre de Meuron. And by now we are in 8 locations with, I think, around 550 architects. And next slide, please. And the company does projects in all different scales, like from like small intervention up to master plan scale over like hospital and stadium projects. And I'm usually in computation design field. I usually work on the larger scale projects where there's a lot of parametric stuff going on. And yeah, there's 2 projects that we have built in Madrid. I mean, I wasn't present at the time, like it was before I joined the office, but someone was. Hey. So yeah, one is the BBVA headquarter, which I kind of like because it's both of them are like more the computationally more interesting projects, I think, like this one, and the other one is the Kaiser Forum, which I was yesterday the first time, and it was really interesting to see because it was one of the projects that I got inspired to apply at HDM for. Like, was not the main reason, but this was one of the projects that I really liked. And I went there, and it's actually nice, and there's a really nice exhibition inside. So, yeah, and also I think this urban intervention there worked really well. So I was really happy to see the project, and even after so many years that it works so well, and it's like so well maintained and everything. So it was a really good impression that I had here so far. But I don't talk about projects today because I am part of the design technologies team, one of our special expertises. We have a couple of them. We have, for example, like a sustainability group, and we have specialties in hospitals, cultural spaces, sports facilities, and so on. But I think design technologies, I think we have the largest department of those. Next slide, please. Yeah, and our department is 25 people, and we are split in 5 subdomains and embedded in the larger umbrella of the digital practice units, which also includes IT and business information systems. And yeah, but our department here is yeah, split in these 5 domains, which is product delivery. That's a group of like BIM managers and one CAD manager that is still supporting older projects. Then we have the computation domain, which is what I'm responsible for. So we handle like complex geometries, spiral staircases, and like something that is difficult to model. But we also do computation design, like for example, stadium projects or complex facades and these kind of things. And our recent newest addition is also app development. So we do have a Unity developer, and we develop apps for like iPhone, Android, or headsets for extended reality. The next part is visualization. We have a group of visual artists that do images, animation, and like visual experience, a lot of content for our apps also. And Building Analytics takes care of performance analysis and consults regards sustainable design strategies. And we have our analog and physical workshop, which do like model making, CNC fabrication, mock-ups, like also one-offs of some yeah, building parts, for example. And yeah, and we all work together on this to integrate new technologies and like in general tackle the topic of technology for the office. We all have in common that like at least some people of every domain know how to code. That's very helpful if you want to be an early adopter, because sometimes you have to adapt the software using and these kind of things. And yeah, my innovation topics are also not done by myself, of course, but in that context of the whole group in the office. And yeah, in artificial intelligence, like almost all of these domains, we work together and explore and see what is helpful for us in the office. Next slide, please. Yes. So today I will talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence. It's a topic that is kind of still starting up for us. So it's something that I was usually a bit hesitant to share because everything is work in progress. But I heard a talk last year on the AF4 in Las Vegas, and there was this person talking about AI and teenage topics. That like like everyone like knows it's a cool thing, everyone talks about it, and everyone thinks everyone else is doing it, so everyone claims they're doing it, like this kind of thing. And so I thought, okay, maybe it's good to share like where we're at and what we are doing, so maybe other people can share what they are doing, and then we have a little bit more honesty in the field, because I think a lot of the developments right now are like investments are driven by fear to miss out, and that is not the right way of investing, I think, into a topic. Yeah, so a quick disclaimer here, a lot of things are still a work in progress in the demo phase I'm going to show. So some of the things we have running, others not, so yeah. Next slide, please. Yes, so artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. We have seen the history before in a nice slide. For me personally, I first encountered artificial intelligence in architecture during my studies, where a guy in my studio was trying to label balconies of the city of Münster, and yeah, trying to work with this, I think it's the GANs there. But back then I found it was super interesting, but the application was too far away. I like more to be an early adopter, but maybe not that early. So we tinkered around a little bit with AI and looked into it, but nothing was really like useful yet until like maybe next slide. Like another colleague of mine, maybe click again to play the video. Thanks. Like a former colleague of mine, Mark Dahmen, like he showed us what he was doing with disco diffusion in his free time, and he was like generating. Like I think one of his images took 45 minutes to generate, but he was generating this like dystopic space scenes with nice music on his YouTube channel, and thought, okay, that is actually like now getting closer to architecture. And not shortly after, next slide please, there was the Midjourney V1 around, and then it was like, okay, now things look like buildings. Now we think we should get going, and I think many people thought that. So I think that's where, like for me, all this hype started for AI and architecture. So this is something we put Herzog in the prompt, and like I think it's a project in Tokyo, and it's kind of recognizable. So it's not there yet, but you see like where it's going. So we said, okay, now it's a point, and then we asked ourselves how we can apply AI in our daily practice. And so the first thing we did. Maybe quickly, the next slide is good. To better understand it, like I split this session. I usually split my talks into like multiple subchapters. So I will talk a little bit of the different tools that we try to apply. First is visualization tools, then about the chatbots, then I see specific tools, and in the end what I call AI operating systems, a bit of question mark, because it's a bit more the future perspective that I think is interesting. Okay. So for visualization tools, we first, like, of course, it was interesting, so we played around with all these different tools, like Midjourney, DALL-E, like tested in our group, gave it to architects, maybe next slide, and created all this like nice like images with it. This one is like a later version of Stable Diffusion. Yeah, so we played around with it, but for some reason it didn't really kick off. Like people played around with it, but they didn't see really the benefit over like other references on Pinterest, because these generated images, the issue is they don't give you much more than inspiration. And usually we like to take inspiration from other buildings, like the context, like also the cultural context of a place. So like where you take the inspiration for is actually really important for the project, and also usually HTM is really like careful about how they intervene with the site, and so it didn't really kick off in that regard, but it opened a lot of questions. Next slide, please. So yeah, the first one, of course, what added benefit do AI-generated images have over traditional references? That was a big question. So why do we actually do that? Why is it better? And also, I think an open question is, what implications do hallucinations have in concepts of cultural heritage and constructability? So like, how do I build things from AI? Or like, if I take a cultural references and it's changed, but we have international project, but I don't know like everything about that culture, I might run into faux pas that is like critical with a client, or like it's very sensitive topic. But AI might not know that, and that's something that we find at least interesting, let's say. And then also how to deal with all the copyright things, because AI, you cannot protect AI content by copyright. And on the other hand, most of the web services, they collect all your data, they train on your data, so that's something that is also not okay for us for other legal reasons. So there were some issues there. So next slide, please. We took a more controversial approach, not conservative approach. So we took a more conservative approach, which this is a demo scene. So instead of generating the full scene, we generate textures. So our image makers could use them to actually use them in renders. And also project teams, and they said, oh yeah, we have this local stone, we have image reference with this local stone. Can we use that in our like facade, like as a texture? And then we started like going that path. Or, next slide please. We used like neural radiance fields, like a different kind of AI technology to 3D scan objects. Because suddenly, like, you didn't need an expensive 3D scanner anymore for like decent quality of scans. Even no LiDAR scanners on your iPhone, you can just use this, like, let's say, this advanced photogrammetry approach. And so we can scan objects and put them in our scenes. The next one. You can also technically, that's a workflow that I'm currently studying. Like, you can generate like 3D objects now also, like with different platforms, and but they all look like crap right now, so they're not really nice. But if you go to the next slide, you can feed them again into AI and take them as a reference to then improve them with AI to make this like really nice looking person. So this is a thing that I did last week with Stable Diffusion and ControlNet to actually make this people nice and but then the problem is you can only use it in 2D now because it's not a 3D object anymore. But that's something that is interesting because technically you can populate your whole scenes with random assets, doesn't matter, and then you make them nice afterwards. And then the next slide, please. Or what is also super interesting, you can take a base scene, like the scene that I showed earlier, the demo scene, and then test how does it look in different materialities, just to get a feel for it. So you don't have to study it, you just have to, you can go very quickly. It will not give you a final product, but it gives you a reference that is actually useful. But here you see that I had to give the AI some freedom to actually make nice images, so it changed the architecture, which is and that is the trade-off. You don't want it to change the architecture. It's the same issue that I think with Veros. It's a similar process. It changes the architecture slightly, and that makes you lose control about what you actually want to do. So it's not there yet. It's not as good yet as render tools. So it's still like we use it in very specific interventions. It's not that we say, okay, AI is now like taking over the creative process. That's so far for the visualization tools. We're still studying those. We're still experimenting a lot. So these tools are right now available for the office, so everyone can test it. We have a self-hosted system there, because then we don't have to deal with all these security issues that we put our images on the cloud. Another topic that we, about 1 year later, start another hype with ChatGPT. So next slide, please. I think you all know it. Maybe click again. To run it, but it just runs the ChatGPT prompt, and you know it, like it's a very helpful tool. It helps you writing stuff, and it's very fun and engaging to play with it. I use it every day for some things. Like it also helps you how to code. You can code better with it, or at least get inspired. So now I asked them about the projects of HDM in Spain, but I think it's good. Like it goes for the right answer. So yeah, it's like the Kaiser Forum and like the BBVA. So yeah, it's great. Maybe go to the next slide. But also here, like there's a lot of open questions that we had, and that we are in the process of answering. So the first one is, how do we ensure data security and confidentiality? So if we put something in the cloud with some service, everyone wants your data right now, because if you go to when we started, ChatGPT didn't have a business or like enterprise version, so they would train on all your data. So if you used a regular service, not possible for us, because we can't ensure that none of our employees will ever upload a confidential document. Another one is okay, how can we best use this in our company ecosystem? Like, how does it integrate in our workflows? What is the benefit? And then the last one is how do we access relevant company information and project-related information reliably? Because there's a base model, it has a lot of knowledge already, but if you really want to make it use, it needs to know about you and your work and what you want to do. And then you need to be sure that the information is actually correct. And hallucination is a big problem still with these things, and especially if you work with sensitive information, you might want to double check. So this is why, one of our developers, he developed our own chatbot that is embedded in Microsoft Teams, and that runs GPT-4 in the background through the Microsoft Azure API, which was okay for us legally because we have an existing agreement with them that we just had to add an addendum that they don't train our data, everything is secure there. So we could use that, and it has already the capabilities of the GPT-4 base model, so we can ask like regular GPT requests. It doesn't have vision yet, but that's another topic. But yeah, but it has some other cool things. So we can add a system prompt, and we can link it to our Active Directory, so it knows actually when you chat with it. You can chat with it the same way as you chat like with a regular employee, with another colleague, or you can add it to your group chat and like address it. But it knows who you are in the company context. So it knows like, okay, you're an architect at HDM, and that's your role, that's your project, whatever. And also it knows like for our digital practice department, who are the support people to talk to. And that's my next slide. So you can ask it basic support requests. Like for example, we do a lot of Rhino and Revit support, and the base model already knows a lot about that. So there is some easy requests it can answer. So here I asked for how to measure or visualize the curvature of a surface in Rhino, and it actually got the right result. But even if not, it points you to the right person to ask. So, and then gives you a chat card in Teams that you can just click on. And that is actually quite important in a big company because you might not know who to ask, or maybe the threshold to go there is too high. So you rather click 1,000 times than like asking the right person. And also maybe the right person not available, doesn't have time for you right now. So this is already, I think, lowering the threshold. And then next slide, please. But we want to go a bit further and really add our document information, like custom company information there. That's the thing that we're currently building. So we're building currently a pipeline with the Azure Vector Stores, which is like, it takes your document, vectorizes, chunks it, vectorizes it, so you can connect it to the chatbot and ask the chatbot questions about documents. For example, the project brief or some regulation that you have. You can upload it and ask questions about the regulations. And then it will give you an answer, and that is actually helpful. So if you were, for example, I was working on a project, like French-speaking project, huge project brief about a stadium, and I needed to know some certain like numbers on it, so I could just chat with the document and take the information from there. So as a demo, it already works, but now there's some other questions we have because we have to know that this stuff is reliable, because it still hallucinates. And if you, for example, ask for like, I don't know, a fire escape distance or whatever, and then it gives you the wrong number, and you'd make your whole design with the wrong number, that is catastrophic in the end. So for now, we have it always pointing to the right source, so you can double check. But now we have to see if people actually double check, because if it's right 100 times, maybe it's wrong the 101st time, and then let's see how we deal with it. So that's still open question that we have, still work in progress, that's what we're doing. And that's, I think, what many other companies are doing. This is a very generic tool. I think that is not even architecture specific, and also Midjourney was not architecture specific. This is, I think, whoever I talked from other industries, that's what they're doing. They're building vector stores and trying to access the company information. Next slide. Now we go from the more generic tools to the actually AEC tools that we're looking into. And there's a lot of them on the market. This is a screenshot took from Reddit, and that is from like a lot of different tools that are available right now, because AI is a hype topic. So there's a lot of people getting interested in doing cool stuff, or did cool stuff before and now like marketed more. But also there's a lot of false friends in there. So there is a lot of people in there that try to sell you a product that is actually just running on the hype and doesn't do anything for you. So that is always a difficulty with hype topics. So technology scouting in AI almost became a full-time job to really like see what's on the market, what's the technology behind, what is useful for you, what can you do. So the next slide, please. So there's a lot of questions there. So yeah, the first one, of course, which AIC tools are actually useful for us? Because as HDM, we also have a little bit of specific workflow, and like we're like not one of like, yeah, we have like this 1% of projects that are always difficult, always unique. Like, and this is something that most tools are not a good fit for us. Even Revit, we customize a lot because it's not a good fit for us. Still use it because it's the best that we have, but yeah. And then do these tools actually integrate in our existing workflows? Because that's also important, because if you really want to drastically change a workflow, it better has strong benefits, because if you disrupt the workflow, people are very hesitant to adapt. So if it integrates, the adaptation is much easier. So for these first low-hanging fruits, we always see, okay, how does it fit with our existing workflows? And then the last one is really important. What is the technical readiness level of these tools? Because it could be that you have very early access to it, because this development is so fast and people developing so fast that there's a lot of like immature tools coming out. It's a little bit like video games that sell you like early access version, and they say, yeah, here you have the version, you can already start playing, but we're still developing it on the fly. And that is okay, but you need to be aware of this. And also you need to channel your efforts, because these things, they require a lot of maintenance. So you need to also speak to developers a lot, give them feedback, they improve the tools, and then you can slowly make it better for you. And we do that, but only with like a few chosen tools. Like the first one was like a tool like, yeah, this one. One of the things that we found super interesting, we took it from a conference, was like this building or performance predictions instead of simulations. So it's like, instead of running like a CFD wind simulation somewhere in the cloud for hours, and you pay $70 for the GPU hours, you can, or at least this research project is infrared from the AIT in Austria. They claimed, hey, we can train on existing CFD simulation and give you like a prediction that is like 85% accurate, which is already okay for us because we're not an engineering firm. We just want to see like that we develop our design in the right direction, and then we have an engineer check it. And so we bought into their like early access program and tested it with it, and we got some like interesting results. Was not really applicable because we had like too many funky shapes and bridges in our projects that this thing doesn't really work with. And also after their research ran out, we kind of lost touch with them. But there was another company that took it on called Spacemaker that was, I think, last year bought by Autodesk, and now it's called Former. And that is actually something that is useful. So that's something that we actually use. So I think here we don't use most of Former, we only use that analysis part, because it gives you like quick results, and like, so in early stage projects you can really iterate really fast, and it's very helpful to use that. The rest of Former is not really integrated with our design studies, so we use it as a one-way street. We push it there, see the results, that's it. Yeah, that's currently, but we're in touch with them, we talk to them also, and see if we can help them improve their tool. Then the next one is a tool called Finch. It was also on your list. I think you have an overlap there. And this company, we work with them now for a couple of years because they had this early beta program with, I think, 10 architecture companies, and one of us was us, and they claimed, hey, we can take your existing floor plans, feed them into our system, and then generate new floor plans that look like yours. So I think they deviate a little bit from that. So now it's like a floor plan generator. The generic one works quite well, I think. But the problem is that our floor plans are not very generic. We have a lot of. I sent them our floor plans, and they were like, "Why your floor plans are always zigzag or like funky shaped or like super deep?" Because they can work really well with floor plans that have like 4 or 6 corners, like squarish or L-shaped. But ours are never like this. So. But they're really pushing it and going there. So we're still working with them. We're still delivering edge cases to them. We're still interacting with them. They're really, really nice and really like supportive and pushing this. And we're getting closer. So this, I think, is like almost there that we can make use of it. So we're getting closer here. And the next one is something that we do in-house, and it's far from being there. And that's a Revit bot. So we have like a LLM connected to Revit. It's also GPT-4 in that case. And it runs in there as a support bot, and it answers you only Revit question. But, next slide please, it can also do simple Revit tasks. So it is connected to the Revit API, and it can, like, very restricted, for example, select you doors in a wall of a certain length, like you see here. Or it can go to like your spreadsheets and change a naming, because the cool thing about LLMs is that, like, for LLMs, it's not, the character string doesn't need to be the same, that it identifies a thing as the same, it needs to be semantically the same. And this is why, even if you type raw door in a super funny way, or a different language, it could still find it and rename it accordingly, which I think is quite interesting. But also here, like, there's a lot of damage that can be done. So this is something that we keep contained right now. We start testing. We have a guy developing it. I think Autodesk, maybe at some point, they will be faster than us doing it, but we really like to explore this and see where it goes. So that's something that we also do, and I think has a big potential. Next slide. Especially when you think about the next step, and this is what I call AI operating system with a question mark. I don't know if the term is coined. Next slide, please. And so this is a question like, what larger impact will AI have on the work of architects? So like, how do we work with architects? And there's like, next slide, please. This is AI operating systems that are now like kind of failing. Like that's something, I pre-ordered this device, it's a Rabbit R1, and it claims to have like an AI instead of an OS. Actually not true, it runs on Android, and there is like an app on top, and then they sell it not as an app, but as a little funky red, yellow box that looks like a Pokédex, which is really nice. So I want it anyway, even as shit, but so they, right now, they don't fulfill the expectations yet. It's one of these early access tools that you buy into the idea and then have a gamble if it works at some point. But I think the concept is great, that instead of like going like and learning all these different tools and technologies, you just speak with an entity that knows all of this. Next slide, please. Because architects, they're usually really good at doing architecture, but architecture involves a lot of use of technologies, which from my experience, architects really struggle with. So next slide, please. I hope that AI can help that situation and bridge the gap between technology and architects. And hopefully, next slide, please, we can do this at some point and like just talk to the AI, show it sketches, and it will create a building. But I think that is like far future. And also that's a very positive view on it. Of course, you can view like, can have a negative view on it. I hope that the human stays in charge, but AI enables it to use all this cool tech that we have currently available. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. And as said, now we start with the roundtable discussion panel. If anyone has any question, please don't hesitate. Itzi and Felipe will be connecting to the streaming video in case there are some. I would like to have the first one, because there is one common thing in the three presentations that I saw. The three of you mentioned Midjourney, which is kind of the most visual program that appear for free for all of us. Suddenly, all of us could generate images and so on. But at the same time, the three of you are talking about codification, making your own artificial intelligence, controlling the artificial intelligence, which has nothing to do with Midjourney. So my question is, and this was something I was thinking about making at the very end of the roundtable, but I put it at the very beginning. Where are we leading? Is this something that each of us need to be making code? Each office need to hire an IT guy that makes its own code? Can we trust what is going to be outside? Should we just wait to make the right codes? Because all these 100 companies you were showing, Martin, let's say half of them, 90% of them will die in a sooner time? Or is this just a run that, okay, there's anyone, whoever doesn't start coding will be very late on his company. Please, all of you.
I can take the lead if you want. I mean,
Sure.
I have a very strong opinion on that, so let's go for it. So yeah, the first thing is that I think it was pretty clear here that AI has a very big obstacle when we try to make it fit for creative work. And one of the bigger reasons why, for example, for our field in commercial real estate is a very, very complex science. AI is a very complex science. And the most complex what you want to do gets, the bigger the gap gets. And the most difficult is to put together all the high skills you need in order to code, together with all the high skills you need in order to give the good instructions to the coders. Another big problem as well is the quality of the data. So when we are talking images, you can have, I don't know if you are aware of that, but for natural languages, you need no less than 10,000 samples. Ideally, 750,000 samples. So Midjourney was trained on the idea that you could, at some point in time, ask for, give me a womb a worm coming out from an orange apple with a red hat, because it's easy to train it with 10,000 images of worms, 10,000 images of oranges, 10,000 images of apples, and 10,000 images of hats. But what happens when you go to architecture? Is it really possible to feed it with 10,000 images of even your own project? And you are maybe one of the biggest, I mean, similar.
10,000 images, I think.
No, similar. I mean, do you really can find, are you able to find 10,000 images of a layout of a 2-bedroom apartment in Madrid city center built in a classy neighborhood before 1950 or after COVID? I mean, when you go deep down on detailing the kind of attributes your samples need, it's almost impossible. So I will end up with something, and I see he don't agree, so it's going to be super funny. I would say, so on the one hand, I think coding is not necessarily going to be something important, because these AIs are going to code on our behalf. So, and I think Martin explained that. So one of the things they are trying to do is to have an AI that is coding for them, and somebody is just cross-checking on the result of this kind of code, but it points you in the right direction. So I think coding is going to be something that is going to be really well done by AIs. So you can put an AI at work for you to help to code. But on the other hand, you need to know exactly what you want the AI to do. And this is rules, and this is ruling out, and this is something that goes directly to human intelligence. So the biggest problem, in my opinion, is that, and I think Martin explained it a bit earlier as well, that because of the FOMO has led mostly the biggest part of the developments in AI. And because of the FOMO, a lot of companies, fear of missing out, for those who doesn't know what FOMO means, fear of missing out. So you have the impression that everybody's doing something, and you are out of the picture, and you feel the need to do it, because if not, you are going to be left behind. So the biggest problem, in my opinion, is that because of this FOMO, many people have put lots of money in things that are not technically viable. And this is a big problem now, because now we are kind of waking up and say, okay, maybe AI can't cover all the problems we have. So I think the most important thing here is to know exactly where your core activities are, where your pain points are, and to check if those pain points can be covered by something like that. And then you get to decide whether you have the resources to do it in-house, which would be the preferable situation. You need to rely on something that exists out, or you can use, as Martin was telling us, you take something that is standard and you try to adapt it and make fit exactly your needs. Sorry, it was a bit long. I didn't want to.
I think I agree on most of the things you said, except for the data thing, because in the last time you said, okay, you can adapt something to your needs, and actually you don't need the big models to do that. There's like smaller models on top that can steer that. So you might have to, this is very technical, but you can maybe train a LoRa model that knows then with only 20 images of apartments after COVID in Madrid, and that already like forces the other model to go that direction. So there's, I think, other strategies. Maybe the strategies how to train the big AIs is not the right thing, but now there's, I think that you can maybe achieve that also with a limited amount of data. Yeah, but I think the term of going of learning to code, I think, yes, AI will probably do a lot of things there and make a lot of things easier, especially in the human-machine interaction. I think that's something that I see coming. But I think you should learn how to code anyway, but it's a personal thing because it's so much
because you're young.
Yeah, no, it's like the strategies and also like how to learn how things are made, I think that you exposed so much to, I think it's kind of nice. I think like I for another presentation I did last week, I looked up screen times in average. And I think in Switzerland, the average screen time per person is 5.5 hours a day. So you spend 5.5 hours a day exposed to your screen, to technologies. And I bet like almost no one doing that knows what actually is and how it's made. And I think that is somehow, I don't know, I find that difficult. So this is why I think like learning how to code, but not for the reason that you're going to be productive, but to understand better what's going on, or at least looking the concept is helpful. But this is like maybe a different discussion. So, but yeah, I don't know how that adds to your question, to be honest.
If I can speak about our experience, if you ask me, if you had asked this question 4 years ago, I would have said, for sure, you need to understand how the algorithms work, and you have to be able to code modifications, even if the basic, let's say, code of the algorithm is provided by, sometimes it's open source, sometimes has been described in a technical article, and convert this model into code is not too complex, but you need to be an expert and you have to be able to program and code this. And this is what we did in the project I mentioned about generating images, recreating lost works of art. This is what we did with GANs. GANs were available. The basic code to use the GANs was there, but the important thing was the data and training them. And at the time, training these algorithms was something that it could be done with, let's say, a relatively no, very high cost hardware. But now it might be different, at least in our field, in the field of art. When first diffusion models appear, diffusion models changed completely the story, because they were trained, instead of with 20, 30, 70,000 images, they had been trained with hundreds or billions of images. So they have learned to generalize a lot of things. So even if they have not been trained with a lot of images for, let's say, apartments in Madrid, they have somehow the possibility to use what they have learned in other images completely different from your field to create something that more or less fits your needs. And if not, do what Martin said, then train LoRa and use them with your own data. And this can be done with relatively low data sets. But in the field of art, they have learned with so many images of so different types. And so in the field of art, artists from all history of art, even contemporary artists, that what they produce is relatively, let's say, relatively good. You always need a human person behind deciding what is good, what is bad, what is worthwhile, and what is, let's say, useless. But they give you a lot of options, and some of those options are good. So, and you don't need to know how to code. You don't even need to understand the basic of the algorithm behind, because you can use it as a user. And this changed with the appearance of diffusion models that can be trained with millions and millions of images and produce a really, really high quality image, what was not the case with GANs. And the companies who are behind these algorithms and who have the hardware power to train, because the hardware power to train now these algorithms is completely out of the scope of, I would say, the majority of the companies. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars just in graphical cards doing parallel computation. This was not the case 4 years ago, but this is the case today. But it can be done without knowing, without coding, without knowing how they really work in our field. Because in the field of art, we are not asking for precision, we are asking for other things. Inspiration, creativity, and these always ideas. And this certainly inspires artists.
And you end up somehow working in one of the second topics, which is working with the unexpected. If you stop coding and you start using programs that you understand somehow what it's going to be. But I really think, for example, in your case, in the artistic way, the unexpected is very attractive. Huh? Can be really used for something.
Yeah.
In other ways, might be not very attractive because if the program doesn't do what you want him to do, then you're losing the time. But, the unexpected, is this, and this is something we mentioned before when we were launching, we have this theory of the liquid model, right? That says that this unexpected, the society of the unexpected is leading us to changing the collective way of work to some individual works. Somehow this fear to know what is going to happen is changing the way we work. Is this something you agree with? Like, are we turning into more individual working in all these specialized people you were saying, or is it something the other way around? We should just stop from that and say, no, this is going to be more collective society and work. Very special for architects. We really like working with engineers, artists, and other disciplines. And yeah, it's turning in one direction or the other.
Very difficult to answer this because I think that there are a lot of questions and a few answers. We can imagine what could be, but we don't know really what will happen because these are technologies that we have just in our hands, but a lot of things are building on top of these base technologies. So the working life, I can imagine that a lot of process will change. Not all of them will be as we can imagine as wonderful changes, but I think that the intelligence, as we mentioned before, the intelligence is us. We can manage the technology with the pros and the cons, no? And we have to see. I cannot give you an answer of that question.
I think maybe I can connect to this one. So I think it's not a black and white question. I think I think the lifelong learning will be more important because things will change and how we do things will change. And there's probably some things that will go away and new things coming up. What that is difficult to say. I think, yeah, that maybe I will kill my own job doing this kind of work because the ultimate goal is to have like architects and technology like communicating smoothly. And that is like, I think that is what I'm doing currently in my job a lot. But maybe there's something else that comes up then that requires, for example, steering this in a certain way or like building up connections. I think it's always like how people use it. And maybe the way you collaborate with engineers and architects changes. I don't think that it will completely die out. I think that's probably not the case. Maybe some parts will not happen anymore. When you have a very highly specific thing, maybe it will, even the next 10 years will not be there anymore because you don't need that anymore. You have a machine for that. But I think there's a lot of like things that are still need that interdisciplinary exchange. So I'm more, let's say, positive that we can keep that because I agree that it's important and it's something that we like to do.
Yeah, and another thing that we have to remember when we think about that is that this is something that do a machine, and we are the actors. There is no something in the machine that do as it wants. We do as we are the actors, we are the managers, we have the control of the machine. So at the end, we can decide for ourselves. No, I think that this is important to remember because some people, when you show the results of the artificial intelligence, it's like somebody has to do something, but it's not magic. It's something that has been done by us, and we have the control to do and to produce the things that we want to do.
No, go please.
No, I was going to introduce a bit of fighting here. So I don't, frankly, in our sector, real estate, I don't think we collaborate. I think it's mostly the opposite. I mean, we fight each other. And I mean, I'm sorry for being so blunt, but it's my opinion. I mean, we need to work together because we have compartmentalized the competencies and the liabilities, specifically the liabilities. But we work in silos. So the architect is working on his own, the contractor is working on his own, the developer is working on his own. And at some point in time, we need to be together because otherwise nothing happens. So in my opinion, and maybe because I am a very optimistic person, this is the only opportunity to make us work together in a real scene with transparency. So we need collaboration and we need transparency. When you can have a platform in which designers in early stage are able to work together with real components that come from real manufacturers at the real price, at the public price, and you can put this together at an early stage instead of just keeping it as a mystery under the table, and so many things happens under the table so far, today, nowadays. So in my opinion, we have a real opportunity here to completely change the way we work and being able to be all together on real platforms. This is exactly what Autodesk Forma is trying to do. They are not there yet, but it's exactly what they want to do. So imagine, so for us, it's like our target. So Nidus would like to be a platform in which everybody can work together, contractors, developers, investors, designers, and all together can share what happens if you pick this system, what happens if you decide what the project looked like with a wooden structure or a concrete structure, and what the carbon footprint is, and what's the price, and everything in a transparent way at early stages. In the moment in which the project, the smart decisions can be taken, and the smartest decision can be taken at early stages instead of just dragging the project longer and trying just to put another layer of CapEx in order to meet ESG, for example, parameters. So definitely, I think there's an option there to make it better.
Okay, just looking around if any questions. I don't know, Itch and Felipe, so I keep asking. I love it. Because I have a long list. But I think we're kind of running time, but let's, you're talking about democratization of the process. There's a bad example that may be useful. With Instagram, we lived a democratization of photography. Anyone could turn to be a good photographer, to make a good photo and to change the way we did. Is this democratization process a good thing? Is this bringing new people to this process a good one, or is there loss in the value of the product we're doing at the end, the result of it? You're talking at the beginning about making a project in 1 month, or I don't know, reducing like by 90% or 80%, whatever, the time we invest in a project. Is this, are we losing quality, or is the, not quality, but is the product less worth it than before, or is it just better, giving more options to do a better result?
If you ask my clients, definitely. I mean, when you have this kind of a foreign fund trying to invest 7 million euros in Spain, I mean, it's not impressive compared to what you do, guys. But I mean, for me, it's really pretty impressive when your client's going to invest between 25, 50, 60, 70 millions. And so they want to know what they can, is it worth it? I mean, is it worth to put so many people's efforts and money on something? I don't know if you are, I mean, there's a trend now that clients are not just happy with one option. They are asking all the architects to provide with different ones, because they start to think that maybe the unique option you are presenting to them was not even the best of it. It's only the one you put your efforts and your time in. So definitely the society entirely is asking us to say, okay, why should be relying on the only option you are presenting us? Why don't you face the opportunity to make this exercise in different times, with different options, with different ways, with different shapes of the building? You were talking about your funky shapes and why you are struggling to adapt to the generic AI tools. Because, as I said before, architecture is magic. And magic happens only by the hand of an expert, of a very experienced people, of a very creative people. But technology will help in the tedious part of the process. So you make it better because you take out of the process all these hours spent in testing back and forth, trying things that don't add anything. So you concentrate in added value, and you keep the task that can be done by a machine out of the picture.
Excuse me a second, that doesn't, my feeling is it limits a little bit the creative.
No, on the contrary.
Because what I think is that sometimes when you're in the process of already detailing a project, which is where you are really speaking, that it may probably simplify the solution, but I think it leads you to one only direction. In projects, this process, when you suddenly jump somewhere else, you're losing that. That's my feeling.
I understand your comment are you acquainted with? No, I mean, are you acquainted? I understood you are an architect, and you mentioned something earlier about being a part of H&M. So, but are you acquainted with any of the tools we were presenting today? Have you tried them yourself?
Well, very basic. Because I'm more in management.
Can you describe your process with ChatGPT? Would you say that if you take the time to prompt it correctly and to adapt and to perform and to perfect the process interacting with ChatGPT, would you say that the result is not better than what you had to produce on your own?
It's always in the two stages of the process. It's construction solutions. It's always to, as you were saying before, to search for information.
Okay.
Things that I would take a long time looking for.
So you are not using ChatGPT correctly.
That's it. Because, well, I'm not doing architecture design anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So, but I understand the creation process, and I think there's a risk there to lose freedom, lose the margin.
Okay, so as I said before, it's a bit difficult to put this into context if you haven't experienced the process on your own. What I will try to make it very quick here, and maybe you guys can be of help, is that when you are sure that, imagine you are heavy lifting. So if you can heavy lift with your finger, you can do it many times. If you need to use all your body to heavy lift, you get tired very soon. So, I mean, I know architecture is much more complex than heavy lifting, but I needed to pick for any example I had on hand. So the thing is, imagine that these tools only cover the part of heavy lifting, but all the how you translate on the magic that you want to happen on a site, on the gesture of the building, on the shape, on this. I would say, on the contrary, it's my opinion. On the contrary, not only you are not limited on your creativity, but you are boosted and in haste. And the reason why is because when you guys are, I don't know how many architects we have here, but when you are facing an empty plot, a blank page, and you say, okay, and you need to deliver something quite quickly, and you know you are going to put a lot of hours in that. Do you guys easily work with, for example, curvy building or funny shapes? Most of the time, you hesitate because you know that the funny shape is not going to work on itself. You are going to need to put a lot of effort in know exactly what happens after the funny shape. You need to check on the shape. You need to check on the detail layout. So many architects tend to simplify a lot, knowing that the effort that is going to follow is going to be really painful. If you know that the process of heavy lifting, so detailing the layouts, is seamless, you can launch entirely and delve into creativity. Because you know that the part of detailing the layout and being able to deliver something to the client is going to be very easily done because you are going to have some help later on. So in my opinion, maybe in product design, when you are just building a little tiny thing and you are working on it and you are modeling it, maybe on the process you are discovering things and you are changing things. But on a bigger scale, like architecture, the ability to be able to check very quickly what ambience are you able to build there, what emotion goes, and compare different ones, I don't think it's killing creativity. I think it's the opposite. But I see you don't agree, so I will be very happy to go on the discussion later on. Okay.
I think I understood the question a little bit different, I think, because the quality is one part, but for me the question was about the value. Like, because it's not the same thing for me. Like, the quality, I think, might even increase because, of course, it helps your optioneering. Like, and maybe your client is right that the one option you put is the only option you tried, and maybe it's helpful to do more options. I mean, we do options a lot, and also the results is quite good, I think, because of all these options and trying and these kind of things. So maybe that enables other people to optioneer. But on the other hand, you mentioned before that we are free to choose what we want to do. But maybe there are, at some point, forces that are larger than us that force us to work in a certain direction, like force of a market, for example. And then you can only move in a certain boundary because then maybe you have this tool that details everything standard, like all the time, great, within its training data. But you want to try something outside of the box. And then the hurdle between the cost that it takes to make it inside of the box and out of the box is much larger than today. And I think then we get in problem with creativity because you're not allowed to think in that things because it's not, maybe it's not financially acceptable anymore to do these things that, for example, at HDM we do sometimes like special details, really like special things. And right now maybe they cost 3 times as much as doing that in a standard way. But maybe at some point they will cost 30 times as much because you spend way more hours in thinking about these kind of things. And maybe no one pays you anymore to do that kind of thinking and like to put your own creativity when you don't want the AI to be creative for you. And I think that is something that I can see as an issue. So I think it's not like a black and white question. It's again gray areas that you have here. But I think what is important, I think, is to, we live in a democratic society. So learn about these tools, like get to know them, not only try them once and then discard them because they don't do what you want. No, like we get familiar with the process and then like there is a lot of like policy making going on right now. And I think this tool, it needs like people that get to know it and actually form an opinion and then voice that opinion. I think that's something that is important because otherwise you might end up like giving everything to the big market forces and the big players, even in AI, like most of the compute power is like owned and run by the big companies. And that is something I think that I see as problematic. Like that's like a development society that might be problematic, that you basically give all the AI power to only a few players. And I don't know how to tackle that issue. Is that something that I see like that? Yeah, it's something that we should think about. So I think, yeah, that's my standpoint to this. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you want to add something, Ana Marcos. Otherwise, I would like to finish, except anyone has any question. I would like to make like a very last one. We hear or we read sometimes about the founders of ChatGPT changing from one company to the other, scared about what the the decisions taken are leading the process and so on. But we don't understand the world. We don't know what is happening. We don't, or at least I can't understand where the fear comes from. Is there any fear on your side about developing these tools, or you just are very positive, as both of you were saying the standing time, no, this is the process, we want to go forward because there's only good things coming out of here?
I think I would just refer to my last statement. I think that's the fear I have. So, yeah.
Okay, if I was afraid of that, I wouldn't put €1.5 million from my pocket to develop what you just saw. So yeah, definitely, if you have any fear to these big companies to grow, invest in mine, and we will kind of balance. Now, I mean, for sure, we need a counterbalance. The history of humanity has been a pendular system. So we humans tend to go to one maximum to the other, and then find our balance after a kind of pendular movement. So yeah, now it's very early. It's happening super quickly. I would say that the risk of not, as Martin was saying, the risk of not knowing how any of the available tools is going to help you improve your abilities or your capabilities is too high. Now AI has become not only urgent, but also important. And this, I think it is the first time in the human history that a revolution that big comes so quickly. And any prediction on how it is going to evolve is being changed every day, because what we thought would take 10 years is happening in a couple of months. So again, I'm a very optimistic person, so I think everything that, at least what I am trying to do is to help them, as many people as possible. So it is true, maybe in the first periods we are more helping big companies, but we are aiming to be able to help smaller companies and individual architects not to be taken out of the picture. Because if you give these tools only to the big players, we're dead. This is totally true. So I think we can't afford to say that's not my field of interest. It's not in my garden. We really need to think, this is going to go over us, so let's better see how I can put the AI to work and to help me on my own work. On the fear of losing jobs, I think it is a bit silly. For sure, there's going to be an adjustment. It has always happened in the history. I don't know if you remember, guys, when Microsoft delivered Excel, so the tool to make any stupid spreadsheets, there was the biggest strike from accountants in Wall Street because they thought they were going to lose their jobs. Same happened with, way before, ¿cómo se llama esto lo de forecasting? Climate forecasting. These guys thought they were going to lose their jobs. And what they do, I mean, forecasting has been doing by machines for decades now. But we didn't drop the forecast presenters. So they do another job. They found a way to communicate, they found a way to interpret the data, they found a way to make it easier and happier for everybody. So the loss of I wouldn't call the loss of jobs, I would call the loss of tasks. So it is not about losing our jobs, it is about putting some stupid tasks out of the picture and only put humans to the really add value tasks. But again, very optimistic.
Well, fully agree. I mean, in the world of art, we hear very often, but if Midjourney is capable of doing this kind of images and so on, so what are graphic designers going to do? I think, well, as you said, let's make automatic, boring things done by machines, and let's exploit the creativity of humans being. Because at the end of the day, who gives value to the results of AI is people. And if something is done automatically and can be done by a machine and so on, we are not going to give this thing the same value of this takes a lot of work, expertise, years of learning to do by a human being. Imagine a painting. I mean, we can imagine that, that an AI machine will be able to paint using designs made with Midjourney or similar, and a robotic arm painting and so on. Will we as humans value this? Probably no. But if a person has taken 30 years of practice in deciding, using its own creativity to create a painting, probably will give more value to that. Because, I mean, it's in our nature, no? So I think that we don't need to be afraid of. I mean, do we like working? No. I mean, if I found a machine that was capable of doing what I have to do, let's say, in a repetitive way every day, I would be more than happy. Why are we afraid of losing work? But we don't like to work. We want to be free to do whatever we want, so why not? This leads actually to the last sentence I have written,
which is a very good one maybe to close today's event. A sentence from Alfred Whitehead from the 19th century saying that civilization advances by extending the number of important operations which we can perform without thinking of them. This was said 150 years ago and is really precise to what is happening today. So with this, we close the event. First of all, before closing, of course, a greetings round to our sponsors, Onda Reta, that was providing the amazing seats you're sitting on, and Delta Lights, that giving the lighting you have behind, making this event possible. Great thank you to our managers, giving us the chance to our innovation and academic teams to bring all of you here and to learn from you and to discuss about all these issues. Thank you for coming, of course. And thank you to the amazing team that was organizing this event for the last, I think we started 1 month ago. And since then, a lot of us work a lot of that. So please, thank you to all of you. Thank you very much.